All right, welcome back. I just wanted to take a break from my my work and put out this video. Just an idea that popped into my head. I'm gonna try not to be too long, but I want to make sure that I point everything out that needs to be pointed out. Okay, so if you will bear with me, I'm going to deal with art and fairy tales and the natural instinct for us as humans to give anything that we describe as evil, to give it dog traits. This is a human tradition. No matter what it is, it can be a demonic creature, it can be a wolf, it can be a drawing of a devil, of a monster, a gargoyle, whatever. The key component is to give it dog traits and characteristics. It's mandatory in order to have a true monster or a true demon or a true devil in the mind of humans. That's why I said we're going against our natural instinct. That's problematic. And our natural instinct tries to talk to us and lead us down the right path, even though we're on the wrong path. Now, I refer to a video that was created either by Chef alone or a collaboration with We Hate Dogs. I don't know why I'm thinking that she re-uploaded it. Please, if somebody has a link to that, share it in the chat room. But I want to touch again on that subject because it was a very good point. These artists, notice how they all do the same thing, even though they have not sat in the same room and agreed to do the same thing. Artists located all around the world doing the exact same thing. Shout out to everybody, by the way, in the house. Big shout out to Mr. Payne in the super chat. Right, big shout out to Mr. Payne in the house. And Nikki, Kittens, Toby, Lillian. And shout out to my moderators and everyone else. This video, I felt like it should have gotten more attention that they produced, but they pointed out, I think Chef narrated it. And they pointed out that in the story, The Little Red Riding Hood, in order to make this wolf come off as evil, they had to give the wolf traits that wolves typically don't have. Typically, they just don't have. They had to give the wolf a different nature, and it had to come from dogs. In order for this story to work, the wolf had to look like a dog and behave like a dog. Just like in order for a drawing or a depiction, an animation of a demon, devil, a monster, in order for it to work, you have to give it traits of a dog. This is the instinct of human beings. And you know there's something to this. If dogs are man's best friend, but yet man always does this, it lets you know there's conflict there. But if you look at those old depictions of Little Red Riding Hood, I think of the late 1800s, you'll notice, and this is what they pointed out, this is what Chef pointed out in that video. And it's deep It's very deep. You've taken the time to do the research. Quite often, really most of the time, the wolf in the story is shown with its tongue hanging out. Now, I'm going to assume that everybody knows the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Okay? The wolf stalked the girl and her grandmother. Stalked them. The wolf went and ate the girl's grandmother and then tried to pretend to be the grandmother so they can eat the girl. Crazy stuff. So this is an evil wolf. And in all of the depictions, it's almost all of them, they have this wolf looking like a dog. Wolves don't walk around looking like this. This is a dog. It's just a straight up, flat out dog. Haven't y'all ever taken the time to look at wolves? Even when they do pant, it's like very subtle. It's very subtle. It's not exaggerated like what you see with dogs. The way dogs have their mouths wide open, their face, the skin around their mouth is excessive, and it hangs so you can see more of their teeth when they open their mouth because their lip is hanging all off their skull. Saliva. That's a trait of dogs, not wolves. Wolves, they don't do that. Even when they pant, and which is not often. It's not like a dog does. Almost all of the time, wolves look like this. They don't look like what you see or how you see them depicted in these images in this fairy tale. And if you take the time and go through this many different images, it's a little surprising. Surprising how they made something that's so unlike wolves. Wolves generally try to avoid human beings. Unless it's a rabid wolf, they try to avoid human beings. Dogs stalk them. That's why in these cities, these countries where they have stray dogs, you don't have wolves scattered all throughout the mix. Dogs stalk people, human settlements, where they live. Remember, the wolf in this story went to the grandmother's home, knocked on the door, and all of that, right? Isn't that right? She went, knocked on the door, ate the grandmother, put the grandmother's clothes on, got in the bed, and pretended to be the grandmother. Hey, look at this one. This one, I think, is actually from the late 1800s. There's a few images that are actually from the late. This one, most definitely, is right here. A real depiction from the late 1800s. Little Red Riding Hood. Look at that so-called wolf. In order to make it come off as evil, they had to basically make it a dog and call it a wolf. That is fascinating stuff. All this time, and nobody's ever pointed it out. Instead, continued to call dogs man's best friend. Even though your subconscious, you see a dog when you think about evil. Look at this. More images. Little Red Riding Hood and a so-called wolf. Wolves, their mouth, even in these images, they gave the wolf saggy skin, mutated skin so that it hangs, just like what I mentioned, as it opens its mouth so that you see more of its teeth. They actually put that in this drawing, in this animation. So they really made this like a dog. And they had to, in order to make it come off as evil. Dog traits dominate depictions of evil. They just do. Even among creatures who call dogs man's best friend, you would imagine that things evil, you wouldn't find traits of man's best friend. But here it's required. They have to have dog traits in order to come off as evil. Here are two more. It's religious. Their depiction of this wolf, basically drawing a dog, that's the true tradition. These people just straight up draw dogs and call them wolves. What they're depicting in these images is this constant, panting, mutated, raggedy mouth dog. That's the trait that they're giving these things. Here are two more. And what do you see? This one is very exaggerated. What do you see here? You see dogs. Just straight up dogs. This one has knocked over an ashtray or something right here. Stuff's all falling over. Her glasses fell off. This one, the lady was reading a book. You see these dogs here. People, these are dogs. All this time, over all of these decades, these artists have not been drawing wolves. They've been drawing dogs and calling them wolves. That's why I say we need to not call dogs animals, even though technically they are. But other animals don't deserve to be put in the same category as these things. That image of those dogs in front of that mosque, that should tell you at least that much. But these are dogs. In this story of Little Red Riding Hood, these are dogs. Now, as I made a couple videos where I pointed out that they do the exact same thing when you ask a person to draw a demon. When people draw, if you get 100 people to draw an image of a demon, maybe a good 80 or more would give it traits of a dog. If you do a search, demon animation or demon drawing, you'll see the same thing. These traits, which are of a dog, dominate the images of a demon in the mind of a person. And it's so often that you can tell it's mandatory. Do a search of drawings of a devil or of the devil, and you'll find images like this. Now, a demon is different from a devil. The devil is the king of hell, right? A demon is the minions of the devil. And in our mind, both entities have traits of a dog. Their physical is dominated by dog traits. Fangs, wide, large mouth hanging open, showing the fangs. They remove the eyebrows, which makes it more like a dog, right? They remove the human traits, and it looks much more like a dog. Okay? Saliva and all. And you don't fully appreciate it until you do the searches yourself and see the sheer number of drawings, of animations, and whatnot. Depictions of demonic creatures. I Googled a demon, a devil, monster. This is what I got when I Googled monster. Monster, and click images. Monster drawing, animation. This is what popped up. 3 evil entities in our minds. And you're asked to bring it to life. Bring it to life, an evil entity. And each time, it's mandatory that they have dog traits, not wolf traits. Dog traits. Hell you, these creatures, dogs, are like from hell. Like literally. The greatest manifestation of a real demon. Here's another one. In the result for monster. This is a monster with 3 tongues. Again, a big, massive mouth, mutated mouth, fangs, showing. If you do a search of any type of gargoyle, anything, I started to Google a bunch of different things, and I got the exact same results every time. They all have dog traits, and it's mandatory. If you don't give them, if you remove the dog traits, they won't look like demons. They won't look like monsters. They won't look like devils. Even the simplest drawings of a demon, it has to have dog characteristics and traits. Y'all notice that the 3-headed dog, I guess it guards the gates of hell. Notice they didn't embellish it any. They simply just gave it 3 heads. No need to exaggerate any of its traits or characteristics. No need to give it traits that it doesn't really have, like they do with other animals. They didn't exaggerate anything about them. They just give it 3 heads, and it looks evil enough. That's because these things are. They are man's worst enemy. And even our own behavior bears witness to that. Our own subconscious bears witness to that. And it just so happens that the creature that you give everything evil, the traits of, dogs, also attacks you the most, far more than any other animal. It's also the only creature on earth, on a regular basis, launching lethal attacks on your children. Okay? They function like demonic creatures. They produce the statistics of demonic creatures. Look at the victims. Look at the condition they're in after they're attacked by these things. It doesn't compare to anything less than a shark. What are we talking about? These are indeed demonic creatures. I'm going to hammer that point home as best I can for as long as I'm here. Right? Shout out to everybody able to join me for this short live stream. Well, PowerPoint presentation. It can get frustrating when even people who claim to be dog lovers, when they do this. Some of them, you ask them to draw an image of a demon, they'll draw this as well. Same ones trying to convince us that dogs are angels sent from heaven. Somewhere in the back of their mind as well, they understand that dogs and everything about them is evil. All right. The statistics bear witness to that. Shout out to everybody able to join me for this live stream. And I hope to see you back on the next as we continue with this crusade.